So what is research, and how does it relate to our work in project-based learning? Well, as an element of PBL, research is about teaching our students how to ask questions, seek out research-based answers, and then share that information with each other and you. This element enhances our students' learning in a variety of ways. First, by teaching our students the value of asking questions, we're building their confidence as learners, increasing their understanding of the content, and teaching the students how to seek out new information instead of only ever coming to us or other adults to find the answers. And this cycle of asking questions, finding answers on their own, and asking new questions, this leads to a growth mindset. And it increases their agency through problem solving. We're teaching them that they can find the solutions to their problems. And all of this promotes the mindset of being a lifelong learner, which is what we really want our students to become. When we teach our students this process of research, we're teaching them how to be critical thinkers, the value of communication, both verbally and written. And we're teaching them how to synthesize, analyze, and organize information that they then need to share with their peers or experts, which would include yourself and other adults in the room possibly. So we break down research into a process, a 3-step process. It's very easy to just say to our students, go do research. But we've broken this down to give you some specific strategies to each of these phases so that you can be mindful of this questioning portion, the discovering, and then the sharing. So questioning. This first phase of research is about teaching our students that we don't know what we don't know, and that we need multiple perspectives of questions. If I simply tell my students, we are going to research how to create a community garden, they might not think any deeper about that. But if I tell them we need to think deeply about what we need to know in order to create a community garden, now they have a space to begin and they're engaged with it. So here are some strategies that we'll talk about. Need to knows, silent questions, and rip, slap, pass. So need to knows. This is about asking our students to write down all of the questions that they have surrounding the topic that we are exploring. You can use the need to knows as a guide for planning resources and activities for students. This gives us sort of a roadmap for content that we need to cover for our students. And then you want to consistently revisit these need to knows, these questions, to see which questions have been answered, and then maybe what new questions should be added. A few years ago, we did a presentation with a group of 9th graders at a local school, and we asked them, what do you need to know to be career ready when you graduate high school? Now that's a very broad question, so we consistently asked a lot of sub-questions throughout the time that we had with each group of 9th graders. But what we got were all of these Post-its, all of the questions that the students had about what they needed to know in order to be career ready. And so then we clustered them, and here's an example of a few of those clusters. They had questions around specific careers. They had questions about what is a job versus a career, and they had questions about job availability. So if I was a 9th grade career course teacher, this is my roadmap for what my content needs to cover this year. This is where my students have questions around this idea of what do they need to know to be career ready. So I've provided myself a roadmap. So another option is the silent questions. Something that we just have them do perhaps individually at their desks, writing things on Post-its, and then you can add them to the board later. So you just take your driving question, how might we create a community garden, and break that down into a few sub-questions to just prompt that student thinking. So for this, we might ask, what are possible locations? What do we need for a garden? What are our community resources? We're just asking our students to think about other questions that come up regarding this topic. And then one more version of questioning would be doing rip, slap, pass. And this is something that you can use in a variety of elements of PBL. So for rip, slap, pass, you put your students into small groups and give each one sticky notepad to share. One person writes down their question on the sticky notepad, they rip off that note, slap it in the middle of the table, and pass the pad. And then you repeat this rapidly. And so the point of really all three of these questioning strategies is about giving our students space to ask questions and to ask questions before they're influenced by what their peers are asking. So it's important that we give our students a private, quiet space to ask questions and think about what their questions are, and then to have a place to look at those questions so that we can respond to them and use that as we move into our next phase of research.